Hey guys, it's so great that so many of you guys have joined us here today. I'd like to thank each and every one of you guys for braving this cold weather and standing up for the future of the great country of ours. A few weeks ago, some of my fellow brothers from the local #1 International Bricklayers and Allied Craftsmen Union were on Facebook chatting. We were discussing how the incident in Curl Lake project happened to the ironworkers and how bad the whole situation has gotten. The sad fact that certain employers can just replace Canadian workers with foreign workers just to put a few extra bucks in their pocket seemed a far cry from the program that most of us have been complacent with. When the service industry was so short-handed a few years back. We thought it was rather funny that a Facebook page calling for a coup d'etat on a hockey team executive to get international news coverage, with a Facebook page getting 8,000 likes in a week. Yet none of us have seen one against this program. Having a background with project management and maintenance, I started a Facebook page that Sunday evening inviting my friends list, which included many local #1 members, local #146 Boilermakers, bike fitters, and of course 720 ironworkers. We're off to the races. The first day we had 400 supporters on our page. The next day it was 1,000. The sport seemed really great. The third day though, something remarkable happened. I woke up at 6 a.m. like I always do when I'm not working, get the chance to sleep in. I noticed it had passed 2,000 supporters. An hour later, 3,000, then 4,000. My phone started to ring like crazy. Friends were in awe watching this all unfold. By the end of the day, you guys had reached 12,000 supporters on the Facebook page on the third day. That day changed the way I perceived a lot of stuff. I'd been reading the comments that were flooding in on the posts. One comment in particular really caught my eye and changed my focus on the whole situation. There was a young girl in high school, I believe she was from Hinton. Her post was put up to say thanks for starting the page. She said, but please don't forget that this program affects more than just construction workers. She then went on to say that she had lost her after-school job at the local Wendy's so that a temporary foreign worker could pick up her shifts. This TFW was living in a house that the owner of the franchise owned and had TFWs under his employee living and paying their rent. This really hit home to me as my after-school jobs were a lot of the reason I am the person I am today. These jobs have always been stepping stones for learning how to be a hard-working, responsible, dependable worker. These jobs are becoming less available to students and future Canadian workers. This is creating a very downward spiral in our society's values. More and more of these employers are using this program in a way to cheat the system of supply and demand as a whole. If there is a shortage of workers, why are the employers the only ones to benefit from being short on skilled labor? By using these people to undercut Canadians and exploit people from all over the world who often do not have the standard of living that we are accustomed to. There are many skilled workers willing to do these jobs in their own country. Many of the unions are just not willing to take a drop in their wages that these employers want. And why should they? They have all followed the rules, got their certificates in training, worked, and have had the experience. They have invested in themselves what these employers have done for their businesses. The employers get tax breaks and often do not put in anywhere near what the average Canadian worker puts back into this country. By setting changes to the rules as paying temporary foreign workers the highest prevailing wage for a certain skill set, this eliminates the unscrupulous employers who are trying to make a few bucks off the backs of others. This allows workers to have contributed to themselves and their country for so long to have a fair shot at these jobs, while providing and ensuring a fair standard of living. There are many Canadians who cannot afford training in these skilled professions. We're being told we need more employees. Why not institute a tax on top of that highest prevailing wage on the PFWs to help supplement training of young Canadians who are looking to better themselves? This would ensure that we are looking for the future instead of throwing a band-aid fix on a wound that appears to be gushing. In some poking around, we've seen huge gaps in the procedures for obtaining LMOs, for obtaining foreign workers. We had an insulator who was receiving EI benefits. He was told by EI he had to send out resumes to a certain amount of companies like we all had to do. He looked on Service Canada's website. To his surprise, there was over 200 job postings for his trade right here in Alberta. And he contacted these employers, Aluma, Fuller Austin, and their HR representatives all had the same response. These job postings aren't real. We post them on here as part of the LMO process to get a prepaid pass for temporary foreign workers. As many people here know, you will lose your benefits for not applying to these jobs. Jobs that aren't even real. This process has little or no accountability. We have had people who have used this program as employers who have said that no one even actually verifies that they've done these procedures and that the employers have put forward. Having more people look into the validity of these LMOs would also help weed out the greedy employers and identify the scams they're using. We've had a lot of comments asking why we are so against these people, just trying to make a better life. Are you Native? Because we all came from somewhere else. My family descended to Alberta about 175 years ago from Ireland. I was raised right along many first generations growing up just down in the woods in the 80s. Becoming a bricklayer, I learned my trade from Italian and Danish immigrants who moved to Alberta in the 70s to better their lives. Our country's foundation was built by immigrants who loved this great country, the greatest country on the planet. This is not a campaign to stop these people from coming here. It is to change a program that greedy employers are abusing to make more money than they need and dropping the standard of living down on most and exploiting other people for their own personal gain. I encourage you, Premier Redford, please put pressure on the federal government to implement these and other changes to ensure that we stay the best country in the world. And once again, thank you all who braved the cold to have your voices heard.
All we're asking for is parity in wages. Treat the temporary foreign worker as you treat your local citizenry, and hopefully that would save our own jobs. Instead of trying to undercut our own jobs with cheap labor, let's give respect to these people that are coming into our country. Let's pay them what they're due. In that case, we'll see more and more of our own local workers going to work first and foremost. Thank you.
Good morning, everybody. Thanks for coming out and listening to Dave's work, and I see little ones here too. My name's Dale, I'm from Local 720. And it seems like they picked the fight, now we're standing up.
That's right.
And we're not going to bow down because we built that mighty machine like my father before me and my uncles. And now they sing from East Coast to West Coast. We all put our time in there and built the mighty machine. And now they're saying that there's not enough. There's not enough qualified workers to build that place with the red cement and all that. I say no. They're lying to us again. And this goes across, like the class guy just said, this goes from guys in high school that want a job to take their little girlfriend out like we all did. They don't have that opportunity anymore. And it goes right to retirees. When they're done retired, they still want to work to be meaningful in society and earning couple of bucks because they can't retire. And this crowd here, it's small in numbers. We're not getting our message across. It's nice to see the Boilermakers and the young pipe fitters, and you know they kind of wanted to divide and conquer. So it's nice that the old our old past is. We got to reform that and rebuild that because we're all in it together. And solidarity. And tell your friends and get your families involved and little children, because it affects them too. The message has to get out there. Be relentless. Educate. Re-educate. Again, on a daily basis. And keep in mind that election is 1 year away. That gives us more than ample opportunity to be vigilant on the government and the policies that they're doing to affect all of us. Accountability. And accountability. Right now, the current government, there's so many scandals going on now, we're shaking our heads. The vets are shaking their heads that fought for this country. What we need here is we need all of us to get together and stand up so this whole place is packed with people. That is it, man. You guys know that acronym. And get the message out. Educate, re-educate.
I'm Kim Jeffrey. I'm a member of 720 Ironworkers.
Okay.
I'm here because I don't agree with inappropriate temporary foreign workers, people that are untrained and undercutting our trained Canadian workers. I'm preserving the future for my son and his kids.
What's your biggest concern with the temporary foreign worker program?
That it's going to lead to a race to the bottom with wages.
So you're concerned about wages? Do you think the temporary foreign workers are being treated fairly?
No, I'm concerned about their treatment as well. I think they're being fed a bait and switch in a lot of cases.
A couple things to say. Why is our government listening to the 1%, not the 99% of people that are standing out here? Like, with the TFW program and the way this is going right now, it's going to drive and impact the middle class, not that 1%. We have to start standing up for ourselves. What's this here? Everywhere. Everywhere in Canada. Thank you guys for your support today. You know, this is a really important cause, and I'm not thinking about this just for myself, I'm thinking about our children. How are they going to grow up in a society like this? It's already impacting us to a point now where we need change. Our future! So, what about our future? What about our children?
Yeah, I just want to give out a shout out to the iron workers because it's been difficult for many reasons to get the building trades leadership to raise concerns about the temporary foreign worker program and how it's being abused. But in that case, involving 65 iron workers who were displaced by Croatian temporary foreign workers, the iron workers local actually did step up and fought for their members. To good effect, they got their jobs back, most of them. That's an example of what can happen when you stand up, okay? So actually on the subject of trades workers, how many of you guys are ticketed trades members? You know, I've had conversations with the provincial minister who's responsible for employment, Thomas Lukaszek, and the federal minister, Jason Kenney, and they tell me that Canadian tradespeople support the temporary foreign worker program the way they do. Is that true? Okay, so Thomas may be in the building. I'm hoping he's listening. Because when he says that tradespeople support this program, he's completely out to lunch. Bullshit! 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 No. Bullshit! 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 That is exactly what's been happening with this program. Bad things happen when governments forget who they represent. Our elected representatives are supposed to represent voters. They're supposed to represent citizens. They're supposed to represent people like you. But when it comes to the temporary foreign worker program, our government here in Edmonton and our government in Ottawa are not representing the broader public interest. They're low, get the jobs on the cheap, and keep the money running in. And they're doing that, they're winning these contracts by staffing the projects with an increasing number of temporary foreign workers. Now, as Brian said, we as a labor movement here in Alberta, we're not opposed to people from coming to Canada from abroad. We're a country that has been built by immigration, but I want to make one thing absolutely clear, and that is that the temporary foreign worker program is not immigration, it's exploitation. This is a program that's lose, lose, lose. It's a loser for the temporary foreign workers who are being brought into the country because many of them are being lied to. They're being told that they can come to Canada, work for high wages, and eventually become citizens. But the reality is the vast majority of them are being used as pawns to drive down wages and conditions for Canadian workers. So they're getting paid less than what they were promised, and this promise about citizenship is being denied them. Almost all temporary foreign workers are here only on a temporary basis for a maximum of 4 years. When these companies are through with them, they'll discard them like Post-it notes, and this is not the way that we built our country. So it's bad for them, it's also bad for you. And you know this firsthand. You know this firsthand. So when they say that they're bringing in temporary foreign workers to deal with a skills shortage or a labor shortage, we know that's simply not the truth. They've opened the floodgates, and now employers, especially in oil sands related construction, are using this program not just to fill gaps, but to displace Canadians. And I think of the case of the Pacer Promec situation, which was a perfect example. We had 65 trades guys, iron workers by trade, who came mostly from other parts of Canada. They were doing exactly what conservative politicians and business people have been telling working people in this country to do for years, which is to move to where the work is. So these are people who picked up and moved from places of low unemployment, like the Maritimes or even Ontario, and they came here to get a trade, to get a job, to earn a decent living, and to support their families. And what happened to those people who did exactly as they were being told by conservative politicians and business people? They were discarded and replaced. Shame! You know, I was talking with a couple of the guys who had lost their jobs, the temporary foreign workers in that case. There were 3 guys in particular. They were apprentices, 2nd and 3rd year apprentices. So these guys, one guy was from Hamilton, another guy was from Montreal. They couldn't find work in their communities. They didn't have a trade, and they said, you know what, I'm going to make my life better. I'm going to trade to become an iron worker. They came out here, they found work, they started working, and they were living their dream. And it was taken away from them by employers simply wanting to drive wages down at a time when our economy is booming and wages should be going up. And that's the third strike against this program, because it's actually being used to undermine the Canadian labor market, not just for individual workers at individual work sites, but by opening the floodgates for temporary foreign workers, the federal government, which is responsible for the program, and the provincial government, which supports it, they're actually undermining the Canadian labor market. So even in a hot economy like Alberta, where the market conditions are saying that wages should be going up, conditions should be going up, these guys are using the program to do the reverse. So the government is allowing employers to use the temporary foreign worker program to essentially defy the economic laws of gravity. But I want you guys to understand that this program is a creation of politics and politicians. This is not something that's inevitable. This is a choice that conservative governments in Ottawa and Edmonton have made. It's a choice to screw you. Okay? So I need you guys to do a couple of things. Okay? First of all, these guys are denying that there's a problem. And we need to document that there's a problem, like we did with the case of the Pacer Promec situation. We need to tell stories over and over and over again to make it clear to the public, to the media, and eventually to these politicians that abuse is not just an isolated thing in this program. It's endemic, it's built into the system, and that's why we say that this temporary foreign worker program can't be tweaked, it can't be reformed, it needs to be scrapped entirely. We need your help. So temporary farm workers who are being used to displace Canadians or drive down wages, call the Alberta Federation of Labour, call me, call our staff, let us tell your stories, because by telling stories, we can make it clear that people like Thomas Sukazik and Jason Kenney are not actually. The next thing I need you to do is to remember what the federal Tories and the provincial Tories are doing to you and your families through this temporary farm worker program. Remember that at the next election, okay? Remember that at the next election. If you picked up the paper today, you saw the latest poll for Alison Redford. She's at 20% approval, okay? We need to remember that and drive her down to 10%, 5%, to be paid when they screw ordinary working people. Finally, I'm going to wrap up with a quote. And this may seem a little out of place, but it's a quote from a guy named Mahatma Gandhi, who was a famous revolutionary who led India to independence more than 75 years ago. And he was considered a crank at the beginning, and he said something after his country finally won its freedom. He said, at first, they dismissed us. Then they laughed at us. Then they attacked us, and then we won. We've gone through being dismissed. We've gone through being laughed at. Now they're attacking us. Keep it up, and we will win. We'll turn this program around. Thank you very much.
Immigration should be used, not exploitation of people that need money. It should be majority of people coming from these countries. Not only are they exploited here by these companies, they're exploited by recruiters within their own countries. Who, they might have to give them however much money so that they can, even just for the opportunity to come here and still make less money than us. So it's not fair for them, it's not fair for us, it's not fair for anybody.
Even if they're paid the same wage as us, their wage gets subsidized by the government. So taxpayers are actually giving them money to take jobs away from Canadians. Is that true? I never. Could you say they changed it so that they have to pay the same wage?
So it's like a summer student.
Yeah.
Like a summer student where they're subsidizing the company to take that summer student.
So they have to make the same wage, but part of that wage comes from the taxpayer. Right.
Well, welcome to the legislature. I'm so glad you guys are here. So once again, what she's saying is a lie, and you don't support what she's doing to workers in this province. I'm here today to tell you that Alberta's NDP and Canada's NDP stands with you in your protest against this exploitive policy, which is designed to do nothing but suppress your wages and make a small number of Canadians richer while the rest of us pay the price. We know, Stephen Harper tries to talk about new jobs, and we know a huge number of those new jobs have been given to temporary foreign workers, not to Canadians who are looking for work. We also know that the temporary foreign worker program, as it currently exists, is designed solely to suppress wages, to bring down wages of working class and middle class Canadians across the country. But conservative governments at the end of the day are not committed to fairness, and they are not committed to sharing the great prosperity and the great wealth that we should all share in as Canadians. So, Jill's done a great job of summarizing all the problems with it, and I think you guys all know how exploited and exploitive this program is and why it needs to go. So I'm going to tell you a couple words about how we need to make that happen. The fact of the matter is, this program was ramped up dramatically under the leadership of former Lori McDaniel, who's going to be running for the federal NDP. And for those of you who get up there and work, we're going to talk to your friends, talk to your colleagues, talk to the people you're working with, talk to the people you know that are going out there, talk to all of them. If you want to send Harper a message that this program has to stop, elect Lori McDaniel and Fort McMurray for the NDP. Because we stand with you, she will stand with you, and that's how we get rid of this program. Thank you very much.
Worked at Tim Hortons, raising 3 kids. She was living in Vernon at the time. Worked her way up to management, troubles with the ex, all that. Hard luck story, but true Canadian girl. Raised. Moves to the island, running away from an ex. Sad story. We got lots of them, but that's a true Canadian girl. She applies for a Tim Hortons job, and did I just say that she worked her way up to management? So she applied in Nanaimo for a job at Tim Hortons, serving you coffee as we go to work. Everyone stops at Tim Hortons. I hate the damn lineup, it blocks the traffic. Did they give her a job? No!
Who had it?
Not to mention any names, but it was a temporary foreign worker came in and has the job.
It ain't right.
Tim Hortons is not Canadian anymore. It's a farce.
It ain't right.
The bottom line is that she was raised, born in Canada. She pays her money here, she pays her taxes here, she has children here who are going to be raising more children here. That's the bottom line. I was at a job, Petrochem, and this was when we did the expansion. I'm a welder. Thank you. So they brought in a bunch of temporary foreign worker welders. And you know how those big jobs go, eh? They don't catch up to your x-rays for about 10, 15 welds sometimes. Woohoo! They finally caught up to these 6 gentlemen. Now, nothing against them, but they don't have one past x-ray.
What?
Not one. So do you know what they did with them?
Even raising more.
They put them in a sea can and we trained them and they got paid for it.
Sickness.
Do you realize in that time there was 5 Canadian welders who were fired because their x-rays failed? So the bottom line is for Canada.
More Canada.
And I'd like to thank you all for coming out here because this is damn cool.
I don't care. We're here.
Thank you.
We've been joined by a special guest. Rachel Notley in her address mentioned that there's a by-election coming up in the federal riding of Fort McMurray because the current MP, Brian Jean, has decided to step down. I think he's running away. But there will be a by-election up in Fort McMurray. It's the epicenter of our oil sands economy, and there's no better place to send a message about your frustration with the federal government, especially with this temporary foreign worker program, than voting for someone other than a conservative in that riding. I'm going to tell you, we've got a great opportunity because the whole country is going to be watching. There's only going to be that one by-election in about 6 months. And we've got a fabulous candidate running for the New Democrats. She's actually one of us. She's a heavy equipment operator. And she just drove down from Fort McMurray to be here. And she would have been here at the beginning, but her truck broke down. But she still managed to get here. So Lori McDaniel, heavy equipment operator, health and safety coordinator for Unifor Local 707, and the New Democrat running for the nomination for the NDP in Fort McMurray. Please join me in welcoming Lori McDaniel.
Hi everyone. I'm a little cold. I've been stuck on the highway the last hour until AMA and another friend came and got me. That's the life of
working people now, isn't it?
Yeah.
Anyway, I'm not your typical politician, that's for sure, but I've always been informed, always been watching what's going on, especially federally. Traveled across this whole country, I'm from Cape Breton Island originally. Worked for 10 years in Ontario and all kinds of different jobs, hospitality industry, all kinds of stuff. I actually started in law and then went away from that, so I'm no slouch. Anyway, heavy equipment, yes, I run heavy haulers at Suncor for the last 6 years, and I've been representing my workers as the elected health and safety rep for the last 4. And political action ever since my local, thank God, takes care of us, and I take care of my people, and I want to take care of you. I'm pissed off. Let's just put it that way. Never good to piss off an Irish-blooded Cape Breton chick. Let's do this. I want to do it. I'm full of piss and vinegar.